Okay, so what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to use this smoke trail picture that we captured in the studio. We're going to use that as an image that we can turn into a brush in Photoshop to use for putting onto a cigarette or smoke pipe or something like that. So I'm going to take you through the process. So first of all, just the raw conversion. You can see I've made some alterations. The important part is to get the image looking good and to get a solid black background. So if you take an image like this, it needs to be on a black background. And we can tell if it's black, but if we put the mouse over the screen here onto this black area, you will see on the bar up here, now it's gone away at the moment, but you will see if you look up on this histogram and the numbers underneath there, you will see it's got RGB. And you can see that with my mouse in this area, it's reading 0. If I go into this white area, you can see that it changes. So we must make sure that that black part of the image is black. So you need to make sure you go over all these areas that are not on the smoke, that are part of the background is on 0. And to do that, you can see I've taken the DAs up a little bit and I've brought the blacks down. I've also brought the highlights down just a touch, but it's all by eye, but it's just putting your mouse on after you've made that and make sure that the RGB is all on 0. Then you're good to go. So all we need to do now is to right click and edit this in Photoshop. Okay, so now we've got the image in Photoshop. What I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to make sure I've got black and white selected on my foreground and background colours. I want black at the top, so I'm just going to make sure I'm going to click on here for the default colours and black will appear at the top. That's what I want. I want solid black. I'm going to select my brush tool. We need a general, go to the general brushes, and I'm going to use a soft hard round brush. And I'm just going to take out areas that I don't want. I may just take a little bit off the bottom as well. I'm going to resize the brush using the square bracket keys. Okay, so I'm going something like that. Okay, now when we make a brush, the important thing is we want the reverse colours. So we actually don't want the smoke to be white, we want it to be a dark colour, and we want the black area to be white. We can do that quite easily. If we go to the layers, first thing I'm just going to duplicate this layer, so I'm going to right click, duplicate the layer and click on OK. And something else I'm going to do before I actually do the next part and make the brush is we're going to change the size of the image, because this is quite a big image and we're only going to use it for smoke. It doesn't need to be so high quality as this. So let's go to File, go to Image, and Image Size. And you see it's 3648 pixels in width. I'm going to take that down. You could take it low on this one. I'm going to take it down to 1000. And making sure that the anchor is in between the width and the height. You can see the little anchor there, make sure that's pressed in, so it will then keep the same perspective. And then we click on OK, and if I double click the magnifying glass, that is now the size of the image. If you've got a smaller screen than me, then double click the hand tool so you can see all of the image. If you double click, it will fit the screen. Either way. So what we want to do now is to inverse these colours like I was saying before. So we're on the top layer and we go to Image, Adjustments and Invert. And now we've got this black image on a white background. And I'm going to take the rectangular marquee tool, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to drag this over the area of the smoke from there, about like that, making sure I haven't got a feather on there as well. Make sure you haven't got a feather selected, it's on 0. And then we go to Edit on the menu. Now what I want may not be on here, just make sure you if you've got show all menu items at the bottom there, click on that so we can see all of them. And we want to define a brush preset, and that will create a brush. So when I click this define brush preset, we get a name come up. Now we need to give it a name. So I'm going to call it Les Ciggy Smoke. Doesn't matter what you call it, as long as it helps you find it. And then I click on OK. So you can see now I've got a brush. Right away it's created the brush. So I can close this image now, I don't need that. Say don't save. I'm just going to open a file. Let's see what I've got. Okay, we'll open this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to create a new layer before I put the smoke on. Always a good idea to do. Put it on a blank layer. So I've created that new layer, and I'll make the brush a bit smaller. I can use the square bracket keys to do that. And I'm just going to click there, and it's black. I'm going to click undo. So I'm going to select the colour first of all. Okay, so I need to swap these around, so I've got white as my foreground colour, and then we'll click again. There we go. So there's our smoke, and of course it looks realistic because it is real smoke. It's probably in the wrong location, it's going over the eye a little bit. So what we could do is I'm going to click on the move tool, I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to drag this from the middle and revert it around like that. So you can see I can distort it now by holding down the shift key, let go of the shift key, and I can now resize this, and it's a little bit better now. I could rotate it just slightly, and then click the tick on the options bar. Let's double click the hand tool, and now you can see the smoke. Now it's a little bit bright, and what I tend to do, I mean this works best on a darker background, but you could change the opacity. So you can use that effect, and that will just lessen the effect a little bit and just make it look a little bit more realistic. Something else you can do, let's bang it all the way up, is to have a look at the different layer modes. Now sometimes overlay gives a nice effect, or soft light, and you can see that's just a more natural look. It's not quite so harsh. And if you use something like soft light and it's not quite enough, you can duplicate that layer. So I can right click, duplicate the layer, and then because we've got the two now, if you want it any lighter, you can just take down the top layer a bit, so you've got sort of a bit more depth on the smoke effect that you want. Okay, so it's as simple as that. That completes the lesson on how to get realistic looking smoke. You can take the photograph yourself on the smoke trails, and we do smoke trail courses. If you're interested, get in touch with Shutter Shack and you can come along to the studio and do your own, or you can have a go yourself. Okay, all the best from me, Les Arnott. Thanks for listening.